What's going on there, guys? Good evening. Good Tuesday evening. May 3rd, 2022 is the date. About 6:37 p.m. California time. This is the Earthmaster here with an update video on this beautiful evening. Got some movement out there along the California area with the latest quake on the globe, a 2.6 earthquake into the area of the San Andreas Fault. Looks like just south of the Bay Area. Let's go ahead and check out latest movement here across the flat scale map around the California area. This is the 2.5 and above. Looks like this movement here well off the San Andreas Fault Zone into the area of the Greenville Fault area. So a little bit of odd earthquake activity here in this region. I'm going to bring up the all magnitude and see if we got any prior earthquakes, which we do, surprisingly. So a little bit of somewhat swarming going on here into the mountain range around the, what is this, Rocky Ridge. About 6 to 7 kilometer depth for these earthquakes. So a little bit of movement inland. You got to think about this here. This is on the North American side of the plate boundary. Got all these fault systems here to the west and a couple to the east. Mostly here along the western edge is what we got to worry about when it comes to the buildup of pressure. So kind of makes me wonder, with all this pressure increasing here and this inland earthquake activity, what's about ready to happen here along the Bay Area. I know it's, I don't think we're overdue for a earthquake along this section of the San Andreas Fault, but I know a couple other areas around the Hayward Fault System and the Calaveras Fault System are very capable of producing a large earthquake through a major populated region in the Bay Area. And I think that's a little bit overdue in that area. So something to kind of ponder when you see this inland earthquake movement. Where do we go? North-south? Let's go ahead and go south here. A little bit of activity here on the San Andreas Fault Zone around the Diablo Range. Looks like some movement, a little microquake activity up and down the board. Although mostly clear all the way down into Southern California. There's not a whole lot of movement on the San Andreas Fault Zone there as we make our way south. Eastern part of the Sierra Nevada, a little bit of spotty movement up and down the board. Some microquakes around Long Valley Supervolcano and Ridgecrest, so very quiet. Look at this. There's not a whole lot of movement here. Just one earthquake here within the last hour and a couple other spotty low range, low magnitude earthquakes in that region. We haven't seen any subsequent activity around the that volcanic cone that I was kind of showing you guys here a little bit ago. So yeah, kind of calming down in that area, but swarms come and go here along the west coast, right? Southern California, down in the San Jacinto Fault Zone, and south of Tijuana, it looks like a little activity kicking up here in the microquake range. Aside from that, not a whole lot going on here in the Southern California area. Nevada, yes, upward, right around the state line. It looks like a little swarm of activity near Beatty, Nevada, and Round Valley, California. This is well inland, well east of the Sierra Nevada range. Not for sure which fault system this is striking on, but there's quite a few unnamed fault systems out here in the desert of Nevada. So again, just a couple spotty earthquakes out here through the desert in that area of Nevada. Looking at Northern California, got Little Grass Valley. Okay, I've never actually heard of that. I've heard of Grass Valley up there on Highway 20, but Little Grass Valley? No. Kind of odd. Okay, 2.2 at a negative depth here for this earthquake. Look at that. Mount Fillmore. Mount Etna. I wonder if these are volcanic up here. Could just have names, right? But I'll have to check into that and see what's going on. Check out the satellite view. I know it's some beautiful forested areas, but as far as any prominent features of volcanic activity, I can't really tell with all the forests out there for now. Working our way up into Northern Cal, not a whole lot being reported. Oregon looks clear. Washington State, a little bit of movement up around the Mount St. Helens area once again. Rainier. And up outside of Seattle and well north around the La Conner area, Washington, 21 kilometer depth for a 2.1. That earthquake into the subduction zone So some little deeper movement there. Let's go ahead and check out the tremor map from tonight while we're talking about the Pacific Northwest. And this was yesterday's activity right here. We had about 63 epicenters of tremor into the Oregon area. As we check out today, there's nothing going on, folks. Nothing to report. So we'll double check that again. Sometimes they are kind of late. That's kind of why I put out this update video just a little late tonight. Sometimes it comes out after 6:30 my time. So not a whole lot of tremor activity to report for now. Let's check out the Mount St. Helens activity, where we're looking at last earthquake here was reported yesterday. It looks like a 0.9 and a 0.0 for the Mount St. Helens region. But again, let's go ahead and verify it. And the reason why I do this, the reason why I check all these recorded seismographs, because they're not all reported, folks. It's just being, as you know, it's like 1 out of every 30 earthquakes that occur up here, and then they report it. I don't get it. I really don't get these guys' way of thinking. So looking at the last couple hours there, definitely some earthquake activity there on that seismograph that just went bye-bye. But I'm checking out the afternoon time frame today and this morning, seeing what's being reported here. So yeah, a couple earthquakes here, a couple very small ones. Now again, folks, these are not big earthquakes, all below, and even looking at these are all below 1.0 and probably below 0.5. So half of a magnitude, but there is still earthquake activity occurring here. These are very small earthquakes, and but they're happening. That's the thing. That's what I want to report. That's what I want to see in transparency when it comes to the PNSN network here. And they're not very transparent recently in terms of showing the earthquake activity that's occurring here at Mount St. Helens. I know it's not volcanic. Well, obviously somewhat volcanic, right, if you think about it. But there's no magma intrusion. I believe it's a deflation of the summit area, the crater area itself, according to the GPS stations and the measurements there. It looks like a continual decline in that summit area, but still noteworthy to mention. What else we got? Let's get back to the earthquake map here and check out this inland area here up against the Rocky Mountains, it looks like, into Montana and parts of Wyoming, where we're seeing a little swarm of activity down here outside of Jackson, Wyoming, with a couple ones and some, it looks like a 2.5, the largest earthquake. And nothing really showing up here on the USGS map far as Yellowstone goes. But as always, let's go to the source. Let's check out the recorded data. And looks like there was, I believe that is the 2-pointer that we seen down around the Jackson, Wyoming area, showing up across the park. That's going to be this earthquake signature right here. And since then, as far as local seismic activity goes, I'm not seeing a whole lot of earthquake movement here at Yellowstone. And it looks really, yeah, there's really nothing going on here to take note of that I can see as far as signatures go, as far as reading these seismographs. Okay, backing out of here, backing out into Utah, a little bit of movement around Logan, north of Salt Lake City, and also around the Cedar, Utah area, it looks like. Well, actually way away from Cedar. One thing I've noticed here, we haven't seen that swarming activity kick up. But what we got one earthquake out here at 2.1 near Fairview, Utah. Some activity out around Texas as well, Midland, and the Pecos, Texas area. I got to make sure I pronounce that correctly. Otherwise, man, they'll be looking for me. If I say a pronunciation wrong, man, I get slaughtered. I get slaughtered here on this channel. Crazy. So a little bit of activity and some movement up around Oklahoma City as well, outside of the gas and oil fields. Here you go. Backing out, not a whole lot throughout the eastern part of the country. It has been quiet for a couple days. New Madrid zone looks very quiet. And then again, we like to check seismographs, right? So we're going to go to the raw data. This is the Arkansas Geological Survey. You can check out many seismograph stations such as King Creek, Hobbs, Lake Charles, the Woolly Hollow, Yaleville, Arkansas. All right. Arkansas's got some beautiful country. I'm not even joking. It's a beautiful area out there. And love how green it is throughout the year. It's pretty crazy. Okay, Looking at earthquake activity, we'll go ahead and check out the Basin Creek area. Looks like some spotty earthquake activity around this region. It looks like earlier this afternoon, very small quakes again in this area. We'll go ahead and check out Cane Creek. And you can see on here, these are not really earthquakes showing up on here. If they are, they're very, very distant and very, very small. Let's check out the Woolly Hollow. Looks pretty clear across the board here, as far as the latest data goes. And then again, you can go back. You can check the AM out, the PM out, and all of this is not pre-recorded, but is data that is recorded around the New Madrid zone. And there's not a whole lot happening here, folks, at the New Madrid zone for now. So I do like to verify it, just because you know, they're showing or they're not showing information here on the map. I do like to go to the source and check out the recorded data for itself. Some movement well off the coast of Mexico, 4.6 down around the Pacific Plate boundary here. Got about a 10-kilometer depth for that earthquake. Some movement there into the Panama area, off the coast of Panama, it looks like. 4.6 as well in that region. South America, a couple spotty earthquakes here, one deep, a couple shallow. Still watching this deeper movement inland. We have been noticing a swarm of activity well into this region of the Peru-Chile Trench with some very deep earthquake activity. So still watching that region closely for some subsequent larger movement. Puerto Rico, got about 17 earthquakes or so here in the Puerto Rico area with a 3.2, the last earthquake. On the north side of the island at 12 kilometers. See what else we got around the Tonga area and the Fiji area. Deep earthquake activity once again, 596 kilometers for that 4.5. And we also seen a 5.0 there at almost 500 kilometers there, well south into the region, the Kermadec Trench area. And one shallow earthquake, the latest this afternoon, a 5.0 in the Tonga region. So again, this area should be highlighted for potential movement. Eastern part or western part of the Pacific Plate, one earthquake out here on the Mariana Trench, Mariana Islands area, 4.9 at 10 kilometers. Remember all the deeper earthquake activity we've seen here. Starting to see a little subsequent shallower earthquake activity along the locked areas of this trench zone. So got to watch that region as well. Deep earthquake activity is something to watch pretty closely. So Indonesia, a couple earthquakes here, 4.2 and a 4.6, and up here around the Kuro-Kamachaka Trench got some movement with a 4.4 at 10 kilometers. Alaska, not a whole lot to report. I know there's some earthquake activity out there along the Aleutian Islands and a little bit of activity out through the volcanoes out there, but no major updates to report in that area. And up into the Anchorage region, the latest quake at 2.0 near Valdez, Alaska. And far as further west goes, we're looking in the clear for the most part, pretty quiet. Iran, this earthquake here from late last night. A little bit of movement up around the Poland area as well, but the majority of this earthquake activity, very quiet, very super quiet in that area. Let's go ahead and check out the solar weather activity. It has been very active this morning and this afternoon. We've seen, of course, an X flare pop off earlier this morning, an X 1.1 in the red right there. That's going to be this one right here. And just recently we had an M 5.3, pretty strong flare. And this is all coming from, you guessed it, hopefully already, I'm glad this is loading, this sunspot down here. I'm kind of curious to see if they named this one yet. Let's check it out. It's unnamed still, currently unnamed, but it's produced an X flare and an M5.3. So somebody mentioned that this is the old sunspot that was back here around the bend for the third time. I'm not for sure. I'll have to verify that and see what they state. But somebody did mention that on the comments. Looks like a new active region turning into view off the southeast limb produced a surprise X-flare. Nothing really notable about the. I don't know. I don't think it's rounded the bend that quickly. I believe that flare or that sunspot region that we've seen twice, right? I believe it's 2993, is still on the far side of the sun. I don't think it's circled around again yet. So this is a new developing sunspot, unnamed, and I don't believe it was. Well, I don't believe it was ever alive. For the most part, it never was. So it's basically just getting its act together and producing these pretty significant flares so far. We'll see what this thing looks like in the coming days. And you can see there a little sneak peek there on the eastern limb of that sunspot. I can't wait to see what this thing produces here in the coming days. And it should be very interesting. I can't wait. Looking at the possibility, I don't think this thing had produced any CMEs directed at Earth. The R2 storms, radiation storms, and the radio blackouts get instantly produced when a flare happens here on Earth. But CMEs take a couple days to get here. I don't think anything was directed at Earth. Therefore, the 3-day geomagnetic forecast looks all green across the board. But that will change. That's going to be subject to change here as this baby comes into view and kicks up a storm or two in our region. I have that strange feeling we're going to be active this weekend and next week. It's already active, right? Look at that. I mean, it's barely facing us. It's unnamed. These guys need to get on the ball and name this. Name these guys. All right. What else we got? Earthquakes Canada here on the chart. See if anything's popping up here. Actually, we got quite a bit of activity looking up here. I'm glad I look here to the Earthquakes Canada map because this activity is pretty important. Although it's not anything above 4.0, it is still activity up here on the just shy of the Cascadia subduction zone, the northern end. You got the Explorer plate that sits right about here, and the Juan de Fuca plate down here, right in this area. Back over here, of course, a blue line indicating the Pacific plate boundary. So a little bit of activity on the Pacific side of the plate boundary with a 3.1 and a 3.3 at 10 kilometers there for the default depths. Aside from that, looks like a earthquake up here in the Bella Coola area. Hopefully that was the correct pronunciation. I should at least try to attempt to pronounce one thing throughout the video, right, that I'm uncertain of. That way I can be corrected. Because people love to shoot out the correct pronunciation. You said it wrong. Okay, 2.1, 10 kilometers there in the BC area. The latest quake there in that purple circle. Eastern part of Canada looks pretty quiet. Quebec area as well. Some earthquake movement over the last week or so, but nothing to report today. Let's see what else we got, folks. National Data Buoy System. Kind of been checking that out just to see what we got. We got any stuff out here in event mode? Looks like they fixed that one off the coast. Right? Still waiting on a call back here from the this station down here, this buoy station that kind of rattled some nerves, thinking that the Earth is breathing underneath the ocean. I'm just not for certain of that, folks, because you got to remember this land. We're looking at hundreds of meters of uplift. We would be seeing that. It'd be noticeable, not only on these buoys, but on seismograph stations. So, you know, I kind of take this with a grain of salt. One grain of salt, okay? I'll give it that matter. One little single grain of salt when we see these errors take place out there. We've got to remember, they're way out there in the ocean. I'm not for sure exactly how they're powered and how they upload the the uplink and the information, but they're out there. I'm sure they're they got to be tuned up, they got to be adjusted, they got to be have maintenance on them. So a lot of times we see these buoys, and I've seen it throughout the years, folks. They all go in an event, or not all of them, but we'll see this one pop up down here and create a little fear mongering out there on the YouTube channel, and just an error. You got to remember, you got to go to the sources. There's a reason why we're looking at so many buoys out here, because it kind of gives us a comparison. All right, guys. Let's see what else we got going on. I know the QSL and the radio waves were crazy today. Heard quite a bit coming in from the South America region here on the West Coast. Turned on the CB radio and heard areas down here in the South America region coming in. So it's rocking and rolling. It looks like tonight as well. I may jump on the radio and see what I can see who I can talk to out here. Looks like West Coast right now still has access down to the South America region, with the East Coast stretching all the way down into the mainland of the Australia area and also New Zealand. So pretty crazy conditions kicking up here, and that's due to the sunspots. And that's pretty cool. If you're into CB radio and ham radio, 28 frequency band, it's really cool to check out. All right, guys, we're going to jump off here. Enjoy your evening. Please stay safe out there, and we will chat you guys a little bit later. Have a good night, folks.